Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. My name is Brett Gilliland. I'll be the host today, and I'm here with Jeffrey Boyle, who is the CEO of Bimoto, which is a marketing company that's helped lots of businesses grow their revenue, grow their customers, grow their business. Jeffrey is in Boise, Idaho, and Jeffrey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Brett.
Tell us a little bit more about Bimoto, how you got started, maybe where you're at in terms of team size and what you guys are trying to do.
We have about 9 to 10 people. I sometimes forget because we've got some people overseas that do different things for us, and then we've got some people here in the States. But I think last count I was at 10, so I should know that better right off the bat, right? But we started it actually when my wife and I were there. We were living in Costa Rica with our kids, and I'd sold my business and moved to Costa Rica. And when I was there, I said, I gotta get rolling with something. So we started doing e-commerce, and we were trying to promote ourselves. And everybody as a small business owner understands that it's, without promotion, without being seen by people, no one's going to be coming knocking down your door. So I started operating within artificial intelligence and found all kinds of holes and tone and tonality issues with it. So already had a bunch of programmers on staff. So I said, well, let's do it better. And we started to do that. And we've not only helped people create a bunch of content, which I've done for 20 years, but we now help small businesses instead of the giant businesses we used to do. And then we just give them an entire contact to contract system, get them in the door with your information, and then close them at a higher rate, and then to be able to scale. And it's been a fun journey.
So you learned a lot about helping businesses by serving large companies.
Yeah.
And you took some of that goodness and you said, let me go help the smaller guys. And I like the contact to contract folks. It's like there's a total client or revenue acquisition journey, if you will, and you're helping them see that and help them get through that. And the fact that you built the business and then sold that and now are doing that again, that might change the nature of our conversation today a little bit. Maybe we could come at this from the point of, or from the perspective of, what do you know now as you're going around the second time, or maybe third time or whatever, but what do you know now about how to build and lead a business that maybe you didn't know the first time around? You're like, this is going faster and easier now because I've learned some things.
Well, I've done it multiple times. And what I used to do is I used to work with enterprise clients, and I had a staff of people that we were kind of the in-house marketing team for companies. And 2 of our companies ended up doing billions of dollars in sales. And then we got a big enough reputation. Then we started taking on $1 billion clients. And, that was a wonderful business. And then I moved on to a different business and sold that business. I think what it comes down to is that you have to get in front of people. And my clients now that, they're hoping their prayer is their marketing plan. Sales don't happen by hope. Sales happen on purpose, and they're hard, and it takes effort, and it takes humility. And the more you sell, the less you have to spend. That's just so basic. The more you sell, the less investment that you need to be able to do it. Bimoto is completely funded by me. In the past, I've used investors, and the reality of it is that if you can't sell, you're in trouble. And if you can't get leads, you can't even sell. So every business that I've done, every business that I've advised on, the emphasis is a great message, but then really just complete discipline to create a sales system that can duplicate even if one of the key people leave. And I think that's just been what I've just had to focus on like crazy. Great messaging. Now convert.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so your expertise lies in helping people get recognized out in the market and get those leads and get those sales. And so naturally you lean in there. Once that part of the business is moving, then there's some what I'll call some organizational or leadership or scaling challenges that come into play. And maybe not when you have around 10 people, but you've certainly seen it where it gets bigger. What have been some of the lessons you've learned, or some of the challenges maybe you're even experiencing today around the people side or the business building side of things?
The business that I sold before, I was in travel, and people said, "Oh, you can't compete with Expedia and Travelocity." Heck yeah, you can. You just have to be able to get in front of people that they may be neglecting, or find niches that you can really serve that they're not serving. It doesn't matter if you're David and the other company is Goliath. If you have the discipline to create a sales system to be able to do it, it doesn't matter how big or how small you are. I believe that any kind of, I've had people also tell me that market's saturated. No, it's underserved in some area. And so that business was profitable. We only needed about $1 million of funding, and then we were profitable after that. And we did in our first year millions of dollars of sales in our first year. And that came from just complete discipline to be out in the field. And what I tell CEOs and what I tell other people is, as a CEO of a startup, you are chief sales officer. That title is really powerful to be able to go off and make sales. And even today, my Instagram reaches, it now reaches 230 to 250,000 businesses a month, and it just continues to climb because of how we do it. And sometimes I get on sales calls with people who have been following me for months, and a gal yesterday said, "Wow, this is such an honor to speak to you." Well, that's what it comes down to, is how disciplined are you at getting your message out? How disciplined are you to make those calls and to make those dials? That's how I scale in the beginning, is I understand it and then I can teach it, and I've got a ground to stand on.
Then when you start to get people around you because you can't handle the volume of sales
Yeah.
that are coming in, you've got people now. How do you do that balancing act between, I still got to be out in front, I still got to be disciplined in my messaging and the content I'm putting out, and I've got a bigger and bigger team to be running? Like, do you just hire that key right hand person and then let them handle all the internal stuff so you can be out and about? Or how are you personally managing that tug of war between external facing and what I need to face, or what I need to lead here in my team?
I think it starts with just complete self-recognition of what you're good at and what you're bad at, or what you're excellent at and what other people are better at than you. I think that's what it comes down to at me. And right now we're moving from this stage of this new business with Bimoto. It's scaling to the really to the degree that unless you're really, really qualified, you don't speak with me. You speak with one of my other salespeople. But in the beginning, I was just begging for leads just like anybody else. But I've done this enough different times. I knew how to scale it. We get so many leads coming in now that without the proper filtering systems and without the proper, just systems, I would be inundated. But what it comes down to is, will you set up the systems right from the beginning so that when you do start to get that deluge of clients coming in, can you handle it? And that's what I do now. Is it's been fun because I've been on, enterprise type of things before, but it all comes down to duplication. I don't want to do this forever. I don't want to be able to just be the head sales guy because it's exhausting. So now it's making sure that I've got the systems in place and people that are better than me at certain areas, so then I can start to work myself out of a job.
That perspective, working yourself out of a job, what is the next thing that you need to be working towards? Like, we all talk about working ourselves out of a job, but so that, what is the next thing? Even more external stuff? Is the next thing new lines of business? Like, what do you free yourself up to do in that case?
Well, my goal always has been, doesn't matter. I was that little kid that sold candy door to door. So I've always been ambitious, I guess is what you
Yeah.
say. But I am now ambitiously lazy. And having lived in Costa Rica for a year and a half with my family, I had the most perfect schedule. And really the goal is to work when you want, where you want, with who you want, right?
Yeah.
And I would do a sales call in the morning, and then I would take a really leisurely 15-minute walk from my house to the gym, which is at the beach. And so I could see the beach from my condo, and I would take it was with mangoes and monkeys. I mean, it was just I talk about that to enough different people. It was so spectacular, such a visceral experience. The monkeys, these howler monkeys, would take bites out of the mangoes, toss them to the ground, and they would start to ferment in the heat. It was spectacular. And all I can say is that I am a hard worker, but I'm not working to be the hardest worker. I'm working to work when I want, where I want, and with who I want. And that's my goal, is to build my business each time I do it, so I don't have to be there all the time. In the beginning, of course, you are, but finding and having the humility to know that you're not the king of the world in every single aspect, I think I guess if I have a superpower, it's a superpower of finding better people than me to fill in the spots that I don't like to do that they're great at, and then sitting back and having the confidence to let them run with it.
Jeffrey, sometimes we find people we think are going to be amazing because of their
Yeah.
experience, their background, credentials, results, whatever you want to call it. Then they get plugged into our team. It doesn't quite work. Have you ever
Yeah.
had that
Heck
experience where
yeah.
it's like, whoa, that's a record scratch here?
Well, the biggest problem is when you have a partner that you do not see eye to eye with. And I think that's happened to all of us. A partnership is marriage without love. And, you're with that person all the time. And you better recognize each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses. I think that's what it comes down to, is that with employees, I've gotten way better at firing. And you just have to. And it's, people say, oh, that's a pretty brutal comment. No, it's the best thing for both of you. When it's obvious it's not working out, you can fire that person. The problem is when that person is a partner. And that's when you've got to get a business divorce. I just really believe it, that if you do not get along and if you cannot respect each other's strengths and each other's weaknesses, it's time to get out. And that's the fastest, easiest way I could say it.
Yeah, I love that. Love, sorry, it's a marriage without love is that business partnership. Yeah, well said. Okay, so um, you've got experience multiple times growing businesses, exiting businesses. You've spent some time on beautiful beaches with monkeys and mangoes. You're doing the business thing again. You're growing again. What are some of the current things? I mean, let's be real with everybody listening has stuff they're wrestling with right now. What are you wrestling with?
We had this call this morning. I have a team call because I have people all over the world. I've got people in Central and South America. I've got people in Asia on my team. And so it's not a huge team, but still we have people that we have to coordinate. And I believe every morning that we have our every morning call. And we were going through it this morning, and we figure about 30% of the leads that we get engage with us. We've gotten very good at bringing in leads. We've gotten very good at bringing in high quality leads. We've even gotten very good at filtering out the bad leads, right? And this morning we were going through it, and we were saying, still, there's a 70% waste of our leads. And one of the team members said, you know what? We need to do a rescue campaign, because when you bring leads online, you've got them for 7 days. And if you can't do something with them in 7 days, they're gone, right? I mean, they're just gone. So it was exciting that I have these guys that, as we were brainstorming, it's really cool that a really great idea didn't come from me. And I think that is the biggest challenge that you have as a new business owner, is having the people that you give them the trust, you empower them so they know that they can come up with a dumb idea once in a while, and you're not going to, put it in their face, because enough of those dumb ideas and you put them down, they're not going to come up with a great idea. And I think that that's just been it, as my team is now in the time we've been together, we have that healthy respect to be able to brainstorm. And I just love the fact that now I'm not coming up with the major ideas, and some of the best ones don't even come close to, from my mind, but from the team. So you say, is that a challenge? Yeah, I think that's always a big challenge for new businesses, and I think that's that backing off and not trying to be the king of everything, and really letting some good people come up with great ideas.
What do you do, Jeffrey, to get the team comfortable sharing those ideas? Because you're right. Just if you shoot down some ideas early on, then they're ready to just kind of climb up and say, "Whoa, I know what that looks like. I don't want to be part of that again." And they might be great people coming from another environment where they got ideas shot down, and now they're a little bit gun shy. What do you do as a leader to like open them up and help them feel safe to engage fully?
I think it was about I started to realize I was talking too much, so I just shut up. And there was this awkward silence of about 30 seconds. And somebody said, "Jeff, are you still there?" Because we're on video. It's almost like
Yeah.
it's like, "Yeah, I'm here." And I just had to start shutting up. And that's the reality of it is I have some really brilliant, motivated people. And some of it, and our current content engine, it came from my passion of trying to make Chat GPT do what it was supposed to do. Simply wouldn't do it. So one of my programmers said, "Well, what if we did this?" And I think that was the groundbreaking moment for us, is that me shutting up and some of our best ideas coming from these guys. And I think it comes from me just recognizing, "Jeff, you got to shut up."
Well, that's a great self-awareness moment, right? And I don't think it's unique to you, by the
No.
way. I think a lot of us, as the leader, we feel, we're like, I'm the leader. I have to be the one making sure that something is being said. And I love that, the practical, I guess, egoless moment where you just say, no, I don't have
Well, we
the
all
answer.
have an ego, don't we, Brad? I mean, you
Yeah.
don't get into you don't get into being an entrepreneur without a healthy ego. And I am certainly not egoless, but I think I'm really ambitiously lazy now. I want to develop people. So if I got to develop the people, I've got to put my ego aside enough to just really understand that I can suppress the heck out of things simply because, yes, I'm putting the money into it, and yes, I'm out there busting it. But man, to really get the buy-in from the right people, they've got to feel involved. So yeah, sometimes you have to swallow your ego. A lot of times you got to swallow your ego.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe egoless is the wrong word, but in a moment to have ego set aside, or in this moment to be absent of ego,
Yeah.
that for you to just create space and just have the team fill that void that you created, that's a great practical thing that we can do as business owners. Hey, I would love to talk about what it looks like for you when you see that this thing's working. Anytime you're growing a business, this thing's working. We got the product market things working. We got the customer acquisition or the revenue generation machines rolling. And now I'm starting to build out larger teams. What do you notice about adding leaders? They're not your partners. I mean, we talked about partners, but now just people you're hiring in as leaders. And how have you found that to go the best possible? Like, what kinds of expectations do you have? What kind of communication do you have with these leaders to make sure that you're aligned and that they're pulling the way that you want them to be pulled?
I think it's a crazy, difficult roller coaster ride to figure that out. But you have to be committed to doing it if you want to scale it all. If you're trying to go fast, you go alone. That we've all heard that. If you want to go fast,
Yeah.
go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so, especially when you're working with different cultures, I've worked with people in Kazakhstan, Vladivostok, Russia, Chinese, Taiwanese, all throughout Europe. And now, I have these employees. I speak Spanish fluently, so working in Central and South America is not a big challenge, but and I've lived there, so I certainly understand cultures. But when you start getting into Asian cultures, and they're so respectful for the most part. Maybe not so much. Some of the cultures are not, but some of the cultures, they're so respectful that they don't want to talk. And I think that that's what it comes down to, is truly, truly making an effort to talk to that person and to set the expectations of what you want. And I think a lot of times as business owners, we sometimes will just will through our hard work and through our determination to get us someplace. That burns you out. That burns you out. And sometimes it takes time and effort to talk through feelings and talk through emotions. But I talk about it every day with my clients that if you really want to market, you market first to emotions. You have to know the emotions of your target market. And that's one of the first things that we do is we run an emotional analysis for the target market. And my wife says it all the time. She's like, I don't care if you can fix it. I just want to know if you understand me. And it's the same thing with our employees, men, women, the same thing. They want to know that you really do understand them. And that's where I think that I have gotten better, is truly making an attempt to understand the emotions, and then setting high expectations once you've got that down.
That distinction, of course, from your superpower in marketing, you would pull out the emotional piece. Like I was visiting with another guest on a different episode about how much time and energy as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we put into understanding the ideal client profile.
Yeah.
And the emotions, and we learn how to write good copy to them. It's like love letters for prospects.
Yeah.
And then we go into this employee scaling building mode, and we don't stop to realize that same level of effort to get to know that ideal customer should be applied to what does an ideal team member look like for me, for our business, for our culture?
Yeah.
How do I speak to them? What's that copy look like? How do I onboard them? How do I get to know them? And that so it's awesome that you just brought that up. All the great work we do collectively or separately in our marketing efforts to understand that target. How do we take some of those same principles and apply them in how we lead our people, how we attract and keep great people? So I love that idea. How are you having like ad hoc conversations around getting to know them and like their emotions and things like that? Or do you have like a rhythm around that? What do you do to get to know your people and lead them well?
My rhythm is a morning call. And like I say, to some of the people, it's an evening call that are on there.
Right.
But that's where my rhythm comes in. And I don't think I would have made it to be married for 26 years had I not started to develop more of my EQ, not just my IQ, And I think that's what it comes down to. If we just at least make an attempt to understand where a person is, if they're disengaged on the morning call, if they're disengaged on, if you're seeing certain things not getting done. And I think that's what it comes down to is we as CEOs, we as the founders of the company, you better be good, just serviceable in a lot of areas. It doesn't mean that you have to be proficient in all of them. But, I remember I had a partnership with a friend, and he was really good at coding. He could write all the different, he had a general knowledge of that, and he built up a team of developers. And we were falling behind. So we brought in the head developer, and, I asked him how he's doing, and he went through and told us, and my partner's like, wow, that's great. And I looked at him, I said, you're lying, aren't you? He goes, yeah, I'm lying. And he goes, how'd you know I was lying? I said, you just can tell. I said, I'll give you a choice. You've got 2 weeks to fix this, or I'll let you go right now, and I'll just give you 2 weeks of salary. And he goes, I'll take 2 weeks of salary. I'm way behind. And my partner looked at me afterwards and he said, you don't even write code. How did you know he wasn't getting it done? And I said, look at his face. Look at his face. Listen to him. Just listen to him. And he goes, well, point taken. And I think that that's the case is, are we really listening to what they're saying? And I think most of the time we prioritize, as you said, the customers. The best way to scale a business is to get people who are better than certain things at you, but you still, especially if it's your own money, better care enough to really be looking into those different areas until you find people that are doing that for you.
Yeah. Well, I love the practice of a daily huddle. You have a morning meeting. It's morning for you, it's evening for others, but a daily cadence around that. I found some of the best leaders that we work with get into a weekly one-on-one cadence with their individual direct reports to check in on them, with them as people. So it's kind of two parts. It's how are you doing as a person, and you better believe we're going to talk about performance every week as well,
Yeah.
right? But it's care, it's genuine, it's how are you, and then tell me how you're doing with the expectations.
Yeah.
Those rhythms, though, whether you do it all as a team or you do some individual or some of each, checking in with the people who are the engine of our businesses, all of us who are in service businesses at a minimum, like it's all on the backs of our people.
Yeah.
And if we don't recognize that and treat them the way that they deserve to be treated, then it's going to be hard for them to deliver the great kind of the care and results for clients and customers. So,
well, and even to
anyway.
what you're saying there, though, Brett, it's the way that we'd also deserve to be treated. And I think that happens sometimes is that we're high performing, and sometimes we don't provide that same level of expectation for them, like we're going to lose them or something. And I think what it comes down to is it is a dual bilateral duty of care. That's I guess that's a legal term. I went to law school to protect me from myself on certain things, but what it comes down to is that it really is a bilateral duty of care that we have to each other. We better care about them, and guess what? They better care about us, because it's a major investment.
It's a big relationship. Well, Jeff, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing some of the past lessons and the current things that you do and deal with. How would people learn more about Bimoto or connect with you on social if they wanted to get connected with you?
You can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Just spell my name, Jeffrey Boyle, so Jeffrey Boyle. And then you can check us out just by going to go.bimoto.ai, and we've got the .coms and everything. We're just transitioning over to a brand new SaaS platform that we've been developing, and so that's the best way to check out what our stuff does. But we do a lot on leadership online, a lot on LinkedIn, a lot of podcasts with cool people like you, and we're out there. If you search me, you'll find me.
All right, very good. Okay, everybody, please listen to, share, like, do all that stuff so that as many seven-figure business owners as possible can learn from this session with Jeffrey. Go out and check out Bimoto, do those things, but we're looking to help as many seven-figure business owners as possible in their seven-figure journey. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for another episode next time.